We're joined now by Professor Chen Xi via Skype from the city of New Haven in the US. He's an health expert on health policy and economics from the Yale School of Public Health. Professor Chen, thanks so much for coming on our show. Now, so it's very welcome news that a potential booster shot could boost our immunity, our protection against the highly contagious Delta variant. So what do you think of the data? Who should get the third jab and when?
Thanks for having me, Zhao Yang. There's still mixed evidence, although Pfizer has been released evidence showing that they are positive about the third dose being effective in boosting the immunity. But the WHO most recently, like just 2 days ago, was saying that they are still studying the durability of the vaccine, which means that they are still trying to understand how long the protection can last and before recommending a booster. There's a lot of research going on worldwide to be able to provide more scientific-based evidence and recommendations. And the WHO is also mentioning that they are evaluating whether to approve booster shots on a product-by-product basis, because they don't believe that all the vaccines need a booster. Some may not. So if the WHO endorse a booster shot, it's very likely, according to them, that they will be towards a selected group of recipients, mostly older persons or people with chronic conditions that make them more vulnerable to severe conditions. But there are more remaining questions unanswered. For example, if need a booster, whether they can mix different types of vaccine, and what kind of mixture that can be more safer and more effective. So those are all the questions open to scientists to answer. But there's one interesting recent study I want to highlight from Israel. You were just mentioning. They were trying to identify vaccinated people who are more vulnerable to infection, which means they might benefit most from a third dose. Their proposal is trying to predict a blood biomarker for the vaccinated but vulnerable. Then they can use that blood test for each individual to say whether someone need a booster. Then we will not be in a situation that we need a large scale of chronic clinical trials, because we all know that having a clinical trial to test the booster will take a very long time.
And the other thing is, Professor, that there's a lot of people in countries that still haven't even received their first jab of coronavirus vaccine. So let's say a third jab is endorsed. Are you concerned that it could cause a shortage in vaccine supplies?
Yes, indeed, that's exactly my worries. But not only within a country, since we know that, for example, UK was in a shortage of vaccine at the beginning, so that's why they are prioritize the first dose and try to lengthen the time window between the first and the second, and many other countries are doing this. So with the third dose being implemented, I think there might be an even bigger shortage in many countries in the world. And it would also increase the shortage in the global scale, because we know in less developed countries, most of the people are having no access to even one single dose. And this is exactly why the Pfizer's R&D of the third dose is very controversial in America now, because people argue that this is profit-driven, because they think that the capacity of Pfizer being used to produce the third dose can be better used to produce more first two doses, can benefit a global population better.
The US CDC says the, quote, war has changed against COVID-19 because of the Delta variant, and saying it's as contagious as chickenpox. What does this mean? What's changed? What can people do?
Yeah, that's exactly very alarming, and they mean three things. Vaccinated people can infect with the Delta variant and may transmit the virus as easily as people without vaccination. And the second, Delta likely cause more severe disease because they carry more viral loads. And the third is Delta is more transmissible than most virus, as you were mentioning. The vaccines are still the key, so that's the key message. So far fewer people who get vaccinated get infected or hospitalized or even died. So this is still the key message. But meanwhile, since no vaccine is 100% effective, so the masking, social distancing, those are still non-pharmaceutical interventions that are very helpful to provide people with the additional layer of protection. And I think finally, besides what populations can do to masking, social distancing, and take vaccine, the government still need to have a high alert to have timely response to the pandemic, try to avoid something like Nanjing has been going through in recent days.
Professor Chen, many thanks once again. Really appreciate your time and insights. That's Chen Xi, professor in health policy and economics, the Yale School of Public Health.